Hey, everybody, and welcome to Earth's Mightiest Weirdos. I am your temporary host, Alex Klein, covering for Brian. He's in Florida, so if you guys know anything, have been watching any of the weather or the news recently, he is busy dealing with some things. So if you guys can all send your love and good vibes his way, he would greatly appreciate it, and we are more than happy to cover the slack for him on the show. Today, we have a jam-packed episode for you guys, and we've got two favorite weirdos here. We've got Kara down below and Kevin up top. Kara, how's it going?
Going pretty good. Excited to be here. It's been a while.
Nice. Yeah, welcome. And Kevin, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here with you too.
Yeah. So we've got, as the title alludes, we are going to be talking about She-Hulk episodes 5, 6, and 7. But it would not be a Marvel show without discussing some of the huge bits of Marvel news that have come out recently in what appears it's like the last week and a half. But this is a lot of stuff. So I've got it all written down. Shout out to Kevin for keeping me honest on this. The first one that we're going to be talking about is Deadpool 3. If any of you have not seen this yet, some Hugh news came out a week or two ago. Ryan Reynolds teased that Hugh Jackman is going to be in the movie, in the new Deadpool 3. Confirmed that there is a Deadpool 3. We kind of already knew that it was happening, but this was almost perfect. They did a little skit, a bit around what the show's going to be about. We got a little bit of kind of a logo. We found out that this has nothing to do with Logan and takes place presumably before Logan. But I mean, not only are we getting a Deadpool movie in the MCU, we get Hugh Jackman on video saying, "Thank you, MCU," which is, I think, something we say quite often here on this show. Kevin, we'll start with you up at the top. What are you feeling about this Deadpool news?
It was Hugh news for when we saw that. Yeah, it was. I think I got like multiple pings of Ryan Reynolds posting this thing. And I was like, "Oh, we got Deadpool news," and then it's like they were like, "Wait till the end," and then I was like, "I'm watching through, and then you just see him in the background. It's like, oh my god, like they did it, you know." And the funny thing is that I think it was back in. I found an old tweet. I think back in January 2021, not 2001, 2021. Ryan, he had tweeted like, "Oh yeah, the planned Deadpool 3 when it was being developed at Fox before the merger completed was like a road trip movie with him and Wolverine, you know, Deadpool." And so like, who knows if it sounds like it's going to pull maybe some of those ideas, you know, and obviously fit it into the MCU somehow. But yeah, super exciting. Yeah. And the video the next day when they were like, "We're not touching Logan," or it's going to be before Logan. So that all works. But yeah, really exciting. And it's coming out Labor Day 2024, that date, which had just recently been moved. It was a February date. So I think, Alex, on our show that we did on Comics and Cinema, I think we had predicted that old February date may have been the Deadpool one, and I think it totally was. So
we were right.
I think we might have been right. But yeah, super excited for this. Really excited.
Kara, same feeling? I know you're a huge Deadpool fan, right?
Yeah, no, I do not give two rips about Deadpool. However, I am just finding out live as we chat that Hugh Jackman's in it. So that's cool. Like, I like their relationship. Like, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have a great, like, faux rivalry that they have a lot of fun together. So that, you know, that's cool. I like that. I guess I have a year and a half to see the second one and decide if I'm going to see the third one.
Did you see the first one and said not a fan?
Yeah,
that's fair. I know a lot of people loved it. I know a lot of people who did not like that movie. So,
but I've only seen it once, and that was like however many years ago. So you never know.
Yeah, tastes can change. I think our taste buds change every 7 years. So you might be right on time.
Maybe.
I am equally pumped about this as Kevin is. This was big news, not just for my Marvel picks, which, yes, Kevin, we did say that for February, so we got that right. But just the idea of the X-Men getting to be in the MCU. And so as I was kind of sitting and thinking about it, my prediction, and it's probably wrong, but I was like, you know, there's a comic run where Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. And I don't know what their plan is with this. Like, is this in the same universe as, you know, 616? Is this in a separate universe? But when you think about the X-Men characters have to be the Fox X-Men characters until 2026. So why not bring a bunch of the best characters from all of the X-Men movie into this Deadpool movie, either to kill them or to just have them there to be there. Because again, the minute that we pass that date, they're not coming back. Like, we're not going to just bring Halle Berry back to play Storm, and there's so many other great actors out there that can do it. But I feel like for this movie, it would be prime real estate for them to be like, hey, here's your X-Men movie. This is like the swan song to the X-Men universe. And then here comes Deadpool. Because again, Hugh's probably not going to be doing it for a while either. So there's got to be something there. Again, I don't know if that's the plot, but my guess, my receipt would be they're going to be more X-Men characters played by the original people in that movie. And I'm excited for it. I don't know if it's going to be true or not, but I'm pumped.
And it definitely isn't them saying, oh, Hugh Jackman's the MCU Wolverine.
Right.
Like, it still leaves that open, and like, I think people because it's going to be so close to Secret Wars, people are like, oh, maybe he'll do Deadpool 3 and then like appear in Secret Wars, but like, I think this is it for Hugh Jackman. Like, this will be the final one of him doing it, and then but maybe Secret Wars. But yeah, it's great because it leaves the door totally open to introduce a new person to play the role for the MCU proper, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to jump to another huge bit of news. And Kara, I'm going to start with you on this one. Wakanda Forever, Black Panther. Tickets came out today, along with the prerequisite new trailer and a poster, which I did joke that the poster is just a play on the others, and they just flipped some of the people upside down, but it is a super cool poster. I watched the trailer, believe it or not. Watched it once on my phone, and I was very tired, so I don't remember a lot of it, but it was a good trailer. It was a really good trailer, and I've got my tickets pre-ordered. Kara, what'd you think of all that? You got tickets secured? Did you see the trailer? You like the poster?
I did not see the trailer. As a rule of thumb, I try not to see trailers. I'll maybe watch the first one that comes out, and then I typically don't watch the rest. Even more so for this movie, this is my most anticipated project of 2022, probably like since the last Black Panther. Has been one of my top anticipated projects. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I am very attached to Chadwick, or I should say I was very attached to him. And so I have a lot of feelings. I cried several times while watching the first trailer that was released for this movie. So I'm just going to like save all of the mountain of tears for November 10th.
That's fair. I will say though, I know you're like M'Baku, and it's not a spoiler to say he does have some speaking lines in this trailer, and they were pretty good. I was like, ooh, okay.
He always looks good, and so do the girls. Like, the girls are on this press tour. Letitia, Denai, and Lupita, and they look amazing. Like, everything that they're doing, their dress is amazing, but also like the vibe that they're putting out, because there's a lot of video footage of what they're doing and how they're connected to each other and the sisterhood that they have. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's and I know you shared a couple of those pictures of them and their looks, I guess you could say. And they're thriving. They're living their best life right now. I know we have to address it. I don't think Letitia has mentioned anything since her pretty wild comments back during those anti-vax moments. But I will say it's not good. But I'm willing to not think about that while I'm watching the movie, and we'll deal with it after the movie because I'm very excited, but she does still have some questions that need to be answered. Kevin, what about you? What'd you think of all that? You got some tickets?
Yes, I did get a ticket. I think I'm going to be one of the later ones of our friend group, seeing because I'm working on Thursday in the evening, so I won't be able to go. But I'm going Friday. I'm not waiting Friday night. I'm going Friday afternoon, so I won't be that far behind. I watched the trailer again, like you. I watched it on my phone early in the morning, so I don't remember a lot, but Namor looked amazing. That we got to see him with the little foot wings happening, and like that's amazing. I do want to watch it maybe one more time on my computer, get it a little bit bigger screen. But yeah, I'm excited. The only thing I've said is I'm as much as I'm excited for, I'm so nervous because just of all the expectations beyond the Chadwick situation. Just the first one was so great. Then you have the Chadwick situation, and then it's like now it's just like the trailers make it look so good. It's just like I just don't want it to fail or be like mediocre or like, you know, it doesn't I don't think it, for me at least, it doesn't need to be better than the first film. It just has to be good. You know, like I would love if it was equal. I just don't want it to flop in any sense, you know, and I don't think
Well,
it
and you
will.
know that it was like redone, right? Like, because there was a story and then they had to redo the
Exactly.
story in a
Exactly.
somewhat short period of time. And we know that Coogler would have been thinking of this, his original story, for years before this.
Right,
Right.
exactly. And I think he has said that they did incorporate a good number of what they were planning to do, you know, but they did have to rework other things. So yeah, that's just my big thing is just I'm just so nervous for it because I just want it to succeed and just
Very
be
nervous.
as good
Yeah.
as it looks like it can be, because it looks like it's going to be amazing. And I hope it, and I if it goes on this trajectory, it's definitely going to be the best MCU movie this year, but far and away. You know, I'm pretty confident on that if it sticks to landing.
Yeah, and honestly, I would agree with that. As much as I loved Doctor Strange, this is my most anticipated MCU movie for the year as well. And you know, I haven't been quiet about me wanting them to recast T'Challa as someone else, but I have since. I still want them to do that, but now after seeing these trailers, after getting so close to where we're at right now, I'm willing to just kind of, just like with Letitia, I'm letting that all go. I just want to judge this movie on its merits and see what they decided to do with this, because I know, based on everything that I've heard, like I'm sure there were people in their ear saying you need to recast, and there are other people saying you know, just make this movie. So they chose to do something, and I'm excited to see what it is they chose to do, especially with a 2 hour and 41-minute runtime. There's a story there for sure, and it's probably, like Kara was saying, a tear-inducing story. My question is, and I know this has always been one, is okay, the easy solution is to have it take place during the blip, but Shuri was missing during the blip.
Right.
And so my only question would be, was that a lie? Did she purposefully hide herself? Because there's a scene in the trailer, and again, not a spoiler, Care, but there's a scene where they're kind of, during the ceremony, they're walking up and it's Ramonda, and I think she's holding the T'Challa's Panther helmet, and Shuri's walking next to her in the same garb, but she's got a hood over her face, so you can't see that it's her. And I just wonder if maybe there was a bit of secrecy around her of like, you know, everyone was coming after her in Infinity War, you know, with her helping Vision. I don't know. It would be cool if it did that. Again, I have no idea what they're doing. And even after this trailer, I have no idea what they're doing. So we've seen 2 minutes of an 100 and what is this? 161-minute movie. We have only seen 2 of those minutes. So this is just, it's going to be insane. Kara, you said you got tickets as well?
Yeah, I got tickets and I took the Thursday and the Friday off of work in case I needed to cry a little bit.
Nice. It's funny. I'm doing the same thing. So I got 7:30 tickets on Thursday night. Again, long movie, so I do not want to be waking up early for work on Friday. Taking Friday off, probably going to go see it again on Friday. But super exciting. Glad that it's finally here. No real. I know our good friend Maya had some issues buying her tickets, but I don't think there were any other things besides that. It seemed like very smooth experience.
It was smooth for me, which was surprising. I did see, normally when I go with a friend of the program, Ryan, we're not going on this one, unfortunately, together, but we normally with Thursday evening at an AMC. And I saw that one was filling up, but like I could get through the site. But when I did mine on Friday, like there were only a couple seats taken, and I picked one right in the back center, and I checked right out, and it was really great. So yeah, easy for me. And I just saw Brian in the chat. I was going to mention this too about the blip thing, Alex. I don't think it will be, because like Brian said, he said then you'd have to kick the can down the road with the Chadwick situation. So I think it's going to be after Endgame, when Chadwick was in there and then he died after that somehow in the MCU and obviously in real life, you know, and then they're just going to deal with that then and such. So that's what I feel, but I understand what you're saying about coming at it from the blip part.
And and that's, you know, it's fine if that's what they choose to do. I just keep thinking about what is the least amount of trauma we can give the audience. And if we have to see, we're certainly not going to see Chadwick, though I'll lose my mind if they somehow filmed something. But it sounds like if that's the case, you'd at least see him as the Black Panther in the costume. It would be a different actor. But like to have to see him die again, I think would just be,
it'd be too much.
And we've seen him. I mean, he dies in the first movie. He dies in What If twice, I think. And now we'd have to do it again. It's just, that's a lot. But like I said, I'm going to trust them. I'm going to trust what they decide to do, and I'm going to judge it on that day.
I think it would be like 8 Simple Rules. Did you guys ever watch 8 Simple Rules? And then John Ritter was the dad in that show. And then when he passed away in real life, they made an episode where they showed the family grieving. It is still to this day the saddest piece of television I've ever seen in my whole life, because you're watching the actors like truly grieve this person that they loved, but they're playing a character to grieve. I think that we're going to see something similar where we see these actors and actresses have a chance to grieve Chadwick in addition to T'Challa. And I think that's what's going to make it emotional, and that's what's scaring me.
Yeah, and honestly, because they did the same thing in Riverdale with Archie's dad. I don't remember the guy's name, but he had a heart attack or something, and they did an episode like that, and I'll admit, it was beautiful. And part of me was like, why do I have to watch this? But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is, and so it almost is like you're having to grapple with that feeling of like, oh, I got to experience this death again. But to see it and witness it that way with the actors, like I said, I really don't want to pass any judgment until I actually get to see it and see how I feel about it. But I'm excited, and I think a little nervous now that know that this might be a possibility. Welcome back, Kevin. Yeah. Okay, so a couple of other quick bits of news that we'll do roundtable. Kevin, we'll just start with you and go up to Kara. Blade lost its director. I did see that there were also some rumors, and I won't mention them. I feel like anytime something happens with a movie like this, it's like, oh, by the way, here's 16 other things that also might be wrong with this movie. And it's like, just like, so we're only going to talk about what is confirmed, which is that director was lost. It sounds like I heard Mahershala wanted some stuff. Maybe it's not going the way that they want it to go right now. But again, we've got a lot of time. They clearly want to make this movie. Was there anything that you made from this news, Kevin? Anything we should be concerned about?
I mean, it did sound like it truly, because this film was just, the start of it has been delayed. The filming of it has been delayed like for so long, and I think it was supposed to now have started. It was like supposed to have started this week, I think, and then that slightly got pushed to maybe in a month's time. And now I think with this other change, the can got kicked further into like early 2023. So I think that's truly the reason why. But like, yeah, I just am like, we heard about this first in 2019, with like Mahershala coming out, and like it sounds like, and we were supposed to see him at least twice, once in Eternals, and then they were like, oh, we're only going to do the voiceover. And then I think he was maybe in Moon Knight, or there was something else. There was some other property, or maybe it might have been this Werewolf by Night. I'm not sure. But in any event, we were maybe supposed to see him. We haven't seen him, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel like maybe he's getting restless. That's what some of the rumors were, that like he's not enjoying how the script's turning out and like the amount of action sequences or whatever. So I don't know. I hope they can get somebody soon, and it just doesn't push this, because I feel like now that it's going to get off the date they gave, and they're going to have to switch it around. And I don't know. I want to see it, because I feel like this is going to be a cool character to see, and just the fact that they can't seem to figure it out is upsetting at the moment. But I'm glad they're not rushing into it. That's also encouraging. So
yeah, certainly. Kara, same for you. Are you kind of about Blade? I imagine.
I don't really care about this franchise, so yeah. I hope they figure it out.
So that's 11 of 2020. Oh, I have a prediction here. What if they switch Blade and into our second bit of news, Armor Wars? So Armor Wars is supposed to be coming out that fall, right?
But that never had a release date for that.
It didn't. It just said fall of 2023, which is we pegged as November. I have the chart up again. We pegged as November to December, right? And Blade comes out November 3rd. So what if they just flip-flopped it? Armor Wars gets that November 3rd date.
Yeah, for me, I don't think so. I think Armor Wars is still too far behind in like because now they have to so the news, as Alex was alluding to, is Armor Wars, the former Disney Plus 6-episode series, is being reworked into a feature film. They're keeping I don't know his name, pardon me, but who was the head writer is sticking on to write the screenplay. But they had already been doing some development work on the 6-episode series. So who knows how much that's being reworked, if they're just scrapping it and starting over. Don't really know, but that also feels like that was supposed to, I think Don Cheadle said they were originally supposed to start filming last year. They were supposed to start filming this year in the fall. And now, it's going to be pushed back even more. I just hope, even though this has not been confirmed, that in any form of this movie, Sam Rockwell, Justin Hammer, I just want him to come. I hope they know the internet's please, and it's like they're gonna make that happen, because he would be perfect to fit. And I think Justin Hammer factors into the comic storyline, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't really remember for sure. But we just need him back, because I think now with the resurgence that they've given to some of those earlier villains from the Phase 1 movies, I think he'd do well.
Kara, what do you think about that?
So I'm excited about the show becoming a movie. The Disney Plus shows, I like them, but they don't, like, movies for me rank higher in hype factor. I also love that this show, like this story, which features Black leads, is now becoming a movie where it's going to be on like big screen.
Yeah.
Which mainstream movies, there's not tons of Black leads. Like, we're just talking about Black Panther, but there's just not a ton. And so to have that representation on the big screen, I think is really important, especially for kids or people that may or may not be able to afford Disney Plus, a Disney Plus subscription. So I love that. I'm very excited for this project. Anyways, you guys know how I feel about Iron Man. Love Iron Man. Love Iron Man 2 because of Justin Hammer.
My favorite Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man 2 is fantastic. If Justin Hammer came on here, it would be almost at the level of Trevor Slattery coming into Shang-Chi.
Maybe he'll make an appearance too, a cameo. Yeah. I'll bring back all the Iron Man villains. This essentially now is Iron Man 4.
It could be. Well, it's still closely tied to Secret Invasion because of, I think it's still continuing.
Iron Man 3 was tied to Avengers.
That's true. Yeah.
Thing. It's just this is your next Iron Man movie, but Riri Williams is the, or it's like Wakanda Forever, right? Who's the next Iron Man? Is it Rhodey? Is it Riri? We don't know. But it's that same vibe.
Do either of you think Downey shows up now that it's a movie?
I really hope not.
I don't.
Not for that. Not for it's too soon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just saying, because if it's a movie now, it feels like budgets are different or more money. I don't know.
I would think that if Disney was like, okay, because I don't know, their budgets are pretty big, but if they're bumping it to a movie, they're gonna probably get more of a budget. But then to be like, hey, what if we got Robert Downey back? Like, okay, we got to add $70 million now to the top of that budget.
That would be a very expensive couple days of shooting. I feel like Harley might show up, the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, maybe he's interning or something.
Yeah, like I think he might be in the running for Iron Man, or at least in some capacity shows up.
Interesting.
Not that we need another white man superhero, but
it'd be cool to follow up on him, see where he's at, see if maybe he dropped out of school or something. I don't know. Maybe he did. David in the comments says a lot of MCU movies are in development, usually for over at least 5 years, before they are made into movies. Doesn't shock me, since this probably happens all the time and we just don't hear about it, which is accurate. And I believe David's pulling that from our favorite Marvel book on the movies, which we did get an inside look at how long a lot of these movies are in production. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, last bit of news on here. This is breaking news. This came out today. Secret Wars apparently has found its writer through Deadline. Marvel has not confirmed it yet, but Michael Waldron, the writer of such amazing features as Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, is tapped to write Secret Wars, which honestly, I mean, insert Loki gif of what did you expect? Like, of course, he's going to be the one to do it if he did all of the other ones. Honestly, good for him for, being as young as he is, getting put onto an Avengers film right away. Shows a lot of confidence from Marvel. And I see it also shows a lot of consternation from a lot of our fans. So I apologize to some. Kara, we'll start with you. What do you think about this news? Are you on one of the bandwagons for Michael Waldron, the anti or pro? Or
I just hated Doctor Strange 2 with my entire heart. I hated it. I hated it so much. The story was so horrible. And so I am now very concerned because I was very excited for the Secret Wars movie.
So what was it? You didn't like the I'm not even going to do it. I was going to try to do some mental gymnastics there. Kevin, what about you? Are you in the same boat?
I'm torn. I want more Loki, Michael Waldron than Multiverse of Madness, Michael Waldron. And I made this comment too. Him and Jeff Loveness, who's doing Kang Dynasty, like the two of them are like passing the ball on the Kang multiverse stuff. Like it started with Loki and Multiverse, and now Quantum Mania. Jeff Loveness is going to take Kang and Quantum Mania, and then he's doing Kang Dynasty and whatnot. So that like it makes sense that the two of them are writing these two Avengers movies. The only thing I can say in terms of Multiverse of Madness is like Michael Waldron, obviously from what it sounds like, he originally did a very quick pass to meet the start of production. Then COVID hit. Then they really like took the time to break it down. I feel like part of the story was changed through directorial choices and the edit, and then like obviously cutting a lot of the stuff out. So I feel if the draft that like they went into actually shooting with, if it wasn't super in flux, might have given a different picture of Multiverse of Madness. So it probably still could have had its problems. I'm not forgiving everything, but it might not have been as bad as we all thought, because like I feel like there was that opening. They originally had an opening that explained more of like Wanda's situation of like being corrupted by the Darkhold and going after 616 Mordo, and that was cut, so like that's a whole thing that he wrote that, it's not there anymore, So again, like I said, I'm not forgiving the entire movie and people's feelings on it. I just feel the script itself, if we saw what it was, might not have been as bad as what the end result was. So, but again, if we get more the Loki version than the Multiverse of Madness, I will be happy.
Yeah, and I think there's still that that COVID era of content of Falcon and Winter Soldier. The writing of
Loki
Doctor
too.
Strange was a clear one, right? And a lot of those ones, both in the filming of those shows and then in the development of some of those films, that was all hindered because of COVID. So in a sense, it's like, again, I feel blessed that I actually like this movie, but for those of you that don't, it's like, you should probably just give him one more chance where he actually can just develop this film the way it should be versus, hey, we have to do this X, Y, and Z because of the pandemic, because of COVID, and which is now, not as bad as it was back then. So we'll see. But again, makes total sense. Jeff Loveness as well, for those of you that don't know, has written some Marvel comics too. So he's well versed, but we'll see. I like that though. I like that there's something about this we have not cracked yet. Of there being two Avengers movies in a year. They're both written by the same people that are writing prior films, Doctor Strange and Ant-Man, that both tie heavily into those Avengers movies. Something about them tells me it's like that they're connected, but that they're also going to be very different. I don't know. It's an exciting time to be alive. So okay, cool. That is our news. So from there, we are going to dive in. Okay, hold on. He's our boss, so we gotta see what he's got to say. Maybe he bombed Multiverse of Madness because he was helping Feige with Star Wars. You would like that, wouldn't you, Brian? We'll see.
But who knows? Who knows how far they've gotten with that, because we haven't heard anything about that in a while. So
yeah, I'm sure that's probably they're like, okay, just call us whenever you want us to get started with that. We're not gonna touch it. We're focusing on Marvel right now. But okay, so She-Hulk. Let's dive in. So we've got 3 more episodes under our belts, and I'll just start by saying I think they're kind of a mixed bag, in my opinion. There's some things about this show, and it's kind of seeing this overall, and I'll be curious to see if my opinion changes by the end of the season. But this is probably going to be my least favorite of all of the Marvel shows, but it's not that it's a bad show. I'd still put it around probably a 7 or an 8, which is really good. But at the same time, a lot of this isn't for me in the sense of like, the sitcom idea of it. I like, and I've grown to like it more, but there's pieces of that sitcom thing that's just like, okay, we need to get to it. Like, okay, you show a certain thing, which we'll talk about at the end of the 5th episode, and we still haven't seen payoff for it. Again, that's fine, but you teased it, so when's it coming? And there's a lot of other little B stories and side bits we haven't seen a lot of. There's a lot of hurriedness, it feels like, in the court cases as well. Everything seems to be wrapped up nicely with a bow by the end of each episode, which is great. Again, that's the sitcom style, but there are just some nitpicks that I'd certainly say that I have with it. Before we dive into these episodes, Kara, overall thoughts on these last 3?
Yeah, I say that I am somewhat in the same boat as you, that I'm so confused about what's happening that I'm kind of reserving my opinion and how I have ranked this show until the end, because I feel like, and I watch with Jalen, you guys know from Nerdy Girls After Dark, we watch every week together, and I was saying to her, like, I feel like every episode I'm just watching like, okay, like I'm not picking up what they're putting down, I think, in each episode. So there's a lot of confusion in this show for me. Each episode is really different. Like if you think back for the last 3 episodes and then you compare that to the episode with the demons and the theater, like it almost doesn't seem like the same show. I love sitcoms. I love Jennifer Walters, was it Tatiana Maslany? Like I really like her. There's a lot of things of the show that I like. Nikki is the best part of this show, like by far. Yeah, the last 3 episodes have been hit and miss for me. The overall great thing about this show is the very real female representation that we get in terms of the little things that we have to deal with on a regular basis that is typically not talked about or looked at, especially in this big of a project, much to the chagrin of many men around the world who've decided that they hate this show because of it. But
where's my show, Kara? Where's my show?
Yeah, when will I be represented? So yeah, I love, like, they're doing a really, really fantastic job. Like even the little comments that may or may not be caught, like just wanting to walk home at night with headphones on, and that piece, like huge. That is like females' dreams everywhere. Like to be able to go for a walk with headphones in. The whole ghosting things we'll talk about for sure. Like there's just so insecurities and all these kinds of things. There's so much going on that is so relatable. But overall, we'll see. I'll give you a grade at the end.
Yeah, I'll say I'll withhold my judgment until then as well. But you're right. I think they're, the parts like that, the themes are really good and are better than the whole at this point. But again,
it would have been a good binge show. I feel like this would have been a good binge series.
I mean, I literally sat down after work and watched these 3 episodes back to back, taking notes, and I was like, "Oh, it's over already." Okay, because 34 minutes, but you have to subtract 7 of that for credits, and then 1:50 at the beginning for the recap. So they're really not that long. Kevin, what about you? Last 3, what have you thought?
5 was my least favorite of the series when it dropped, and then 6 and 7 got a lot better, and I thought last week I think was one of my favorites, if not the favorite of the series so far. I'll also note that these 3 were directed by Anu Valia, whereas the first 4 and the next 2 are by Kat Coiro. So if that, I definitely, at least going into 5, I felt like, for me, the reason I didn't like it is I felt we had been ramping up like the humor and the jokes and everything up through the 4th episode, which with Madison and everything, which I loved. And then like we hit 5 and it's the court case with Titania, and it's just like we just like hit a brick wall, and just like the humor didn't land in the same way. So it was like, what happened? But then the wedding episode I thought was really fun and enjoyable. And then last week's at the retreat with Blonsky and the D-list characters was a lot of fun, I thought. So yeah, I've been enjoying the series so far. I agree with what you're saying. I think watching it as a whole probably will give a better idea or whatever. Unlike you, Kara, I am following along what's happening and getting what's maybe it's because I've read pretty much all of She-Hulk's comics and know a lot of her character that I'm absorbing it better, and I know like this fits her and everything well enough, and also just kind of seeing where they're kind of going, even though, like you said, Alex, some of the B storylines are being not resolved right away, and then they're being picked up in weird spots or whatever, so
like the Titanic, I just can't get over that in the first episode she came crashing through the wall. Her second episode, what was it? Crashing through the court. And then we don't see her again for like 4 episodes. I still don't think that was wrapped up. Like,
there's something about that of like, okay, they did wrap it up though, right?
Yeah.
They wrapped it up via a crawl on the news briefing on the TV where it said that they basically argued that she had low blood sugar or something, and she got away with it. But okay, if I can't read all of that stuff super fast, how am I going to catch it? How am I going to know? We didn't mention that any other spot. And so, okay, she gets away with it, but Emil Blonsky's got to wear this thing on his. He can't turn into Abomination. He's like super kind. I don't know. So yeah, let's dive in though, because so I took some notes. I sent them to you guys. We're certainly not going to talk about all of it, but there are some pieces because, like I said, I think there's some important bits of this. And the first one, honestly, the most important bit of this entire season, which is Nikki's drip. So we learn in this episode 5 about a certain drip broker, which is probably one of my favorite scenes in the show. But before that, we get a bit where Nikki and Jen go. What?
Oh, Jen. Oh, I thought you were going to try and say Pug.
Oh, no. Yeah, so Nikki and Jen go to talk to Titania to tell her to stop, and Nikki is in this rainbow Technicolor, all colors of the rainbow dress, and my eyes were feasting. I was like, this is just absolutely incredible. And then later on in that episode, when they go visit Alonzo, or not Alonzo, I'm sorry, I think his name is Luke.
Yeah, Luke.
She's got this beautiful floral yellow, blue, and red dress with like light blue eyeshadow on. Like I said, I lost my mind. I was like, I still remember, I think about it every single time when they said that, what's her name in real life?
Ginger Gonzaga.
Yeah, thank you. That she picked all of her outfits.
A lot of it was some of it was her personal stuff.
Too. Right, like her personal stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, and there's even that line that Mallory says at one point when she's talking about She-Hulk, and she's like, Nikki, you seem to know exactly what you're doing when you care about what you wear. And I was just like, yeah, she does. So I'm just, like I said, I think Nikki's fashion has been my must-watch TV of the show of like, what new things is she going to be wearing this week? Or you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, she's perfect. She is the one like actor that on this show that I think has nailed it. Like she has completely nailed this character. All of the rest of them, even Jen in the show, like I'm not 100% sure that they completely nailed it. But she is like the RDJ to Tony Stark. Like that is like Ginger to Nikki. Like I think she just nails it. And her whole vibe, including her sass that I think matches her outfit, is amazing.
Yeah, that was on point too in that scene because she's like, wait, this is a beauty, like a beauty toxin, a beauty tonic, a beauty... and she's like, these are just all the same thing. And Nikki's like, no, they're not. I'll take some of those samples, please. Yes, that was... And she even said, yeah, we gotta walk in like you own the place. And she's great. Kevin, you in love with Nikki too?
I like her. I don't think I'm in love with her as much as you guys. Like, she's enjoyable, but like, to me, she's, at least in the beginning episodes, like we didn't know much about. Like, she was just there, and like she wasn't her own character really. Like, she was just Jen's like hype person. So,
which she does a great job of. And another very important thing for women is to have women supporting women.
Yeah, for sure, and but like we didn't know Nikki by herself. So I think in episode 5, it was like her and Pug going to see Luke. That was helpful. And like, she did something outside of just being Jen's support in the background, which again, it's great, but like, that's all she was doing, like I wanted to see Nikki outside of that sphere. So, and I thought, that at least we're maybe going to get there or not, but with Pug, that whole thing with them getting the Avengers merchandise and everything was like super hilarious, the knockoff stuff. And
you don't like Avengers? I got Avengers.
Yeah, Avengers and Avengers, that was really great and really fun. And I feel a missed opportunity that they didn't do a post credit in that episode of them getting the shoes with the shoe drop, because
I was going to ask Kevin, do you think that that's because it was a different director? Because only her episodes are the ones that didn't have it.
It might be. I mean, and I don't know why, because I feel like there was definitely material in each of them that could have been a post credits. So yeah, I don't know, but that's at the moment. It's unless episode 8 doesn't have one. I mean, 9 will probably definitely have one, but if this week's doesn't have one, then it'll be like, oh, it wasn't all of them. But
Kevin, episode 8, the post credits going to be when Daredevil shows up.
Right,
we're not getting him till the last episode.
No, I think he's coming this week, but
I'm sure. But
yeah, the whole drip broker and all that, them and the stuff, that was a lot of fun. But Yeah, I'm not as high on Nikki as you guys, but I don't dislike her. That's not saying I dislike her, but I like when she's on, I'm not like, oh my god, yes, it's more Nikki. I'm like, oh good, we're getting some more Nikki, and then let's move on to get back to the Just Jen show because it is.
Yeah.
She's our Madison, Kevin.
Hey, you know,
That's fair.
Madison.
And you know,
That's fair.
That's the best part about the show, though, is that everyone's got somebody that's like, "Ooh, this is my favorite." This is, and there's so many different characters, and I think you really see that shine in these two episodes too. And I'm gonna start skipping around a bit just so that we can have a good conversation of like the team ups. Because this episode you get Nikki and Pug teaming up, and then next episode you get Nikki and Mallory teaming up.
That was a good team up,
and that was a fantastic. Yeah, I feel like again, it's like Nikki kind of seems like the reason these are good team ups, but at the same time, you are getting great background on Mallory. You're getting more background on Pug, and when you think about it, to your point, Kevin, even for Jen, we don't know a lot about these people, right? Like, where did Jen and Nikki meet? What was Nikki's upbringing? What was Pug's upbringing? And again, second season, whatever, we're going to maybe get a little bit of backstory, but it's interesting that they do have that power over us that you can just see Nikki or see Pug and you're like, wow, this is a cool character. And you know virtually nothing about them. Like there is not a lot that we know about these characters. Even Jen, we don't know a lot about her. We don't know what she dealt with when she was in high school. I'm sure there's probably some things there driving some of the, behaviors that she has in life too, which I'm sure we'll talk about here coming up. Okay. So, this was something I wanted to talk about. So in this episode, again, the reason this was my favorite episode is because of the introspection that Jen is willing to do for herself, even though the reason that she's doing it is that so she can win. But I had said, not only do we see the parade of jerks and how they affect Jen, right? Like we saw them in the last episode, and now in this episode, they're being brought into court. We got to hear all that again. Is Todd a villain? I don't know if we'll ever find that out, but especially that last guy, right? Where he said he openly is like, yes, She-Hulk and I had a huge connection, but I don't find Jen attractive at all. But you see the look on her faces, all these people. When even on the first viewing, I was like visibly sad when I was watching this because I'm just like, not only I get it, and she even teases herself later at the end of the episode, right? When she says, actually, I quoted it, always count on me to throw me under the bus when it comes to, and I know she's saying that in terms of like, I'm willing to kind of deprecate myself like that so that I can win this case. But at the same time, she's kind of calling that out too, of like, she's willing to kind of have that happen to her, I guess you could say. And I guess, Kara, you probably could shed some light on this too, certainly. But like, I don't know, that would have been really tough, I think, to have to relive all of those terrible dates. And not only doing that through the lens of, I have to win this case, but of like, who am I? Like this case itself is, who am I? Am I She-Hulk? Am I Jen? These people can't accept me as Jen. These people can't accept me as She-Hulk. Like that has to be mentally just the most exhausting thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think the just Jen thing is a deep-seated insecurity that she's had for a long time. It's something a lot of us can relate to, women especially, because of men like that and for other reasons. But I think she also alludes to it in the first couple episodes when she's in boot camp with Bruce and she's saying like, as a female, like I have to deal with all of these emotions. I have to keep them at bay. I have to be in control of them because that's just a normal part of being a girl. And like, I'm not trying to say that guys don't deal with any of that, because they do. But especially when you're on dating apps, I know I've been on dating apps and they do work sometimes. But sometimes they don't. And
wait, you're dating a ring?
A lot of the time they don't. And a lot of the time you're left dealing with guys like that. And whether or not you're in a courtroom, like parading them around, the fact that they actually came back to her defense, I thought was pretty good, because that's more than we usually get.
Right.
Like,
well, maybe they got subpoenaed and they had to come.
Yeah, maybe that's fair. But just that, having to relive like them saying why they don't like you or whatever, I think sets up a future episode with what's his face?
Todd?
Josh. No, gross Josh.
Oh, Josh. Yeah.
Because like those insecurities were deepened there. And then that's how he got in, is because he abused those insecurities. And then.
Yeah. And, honestly, though, I feel like it wouldn't have mattered whether he came in before or after. Like, I feel kind of like you're saying, right? I mean, Jen's probably had those insecure, like if he'd have showed up and been the first date that she'd have seen, it would have been the same exact story, just skip to this most recent episode of like, oh, he's a really great guy and he really likes me, and he would have still ended up ghosting him no matter
Like,
what.
yes and no, because when you've like tried and failed a bunch of times, like you've got up and fallen, then you start like accepting other things and you stop
Oh,
seeing
yeah,
red
that's true.
flags and stuff like that. So maybe like it's very possible that they would have she would have been in a similar situation, but I do think that it was quickened at least by
You're right, yeah.
And
by this.
and I also think with this courtroom, as you were saying, Alex, like
Uh-oh.
No.
We'll
Sorry,
have to
Kevin.
we'll have to wait to see what Kevin's comment is as he gets back. I got to ask you, Kara, what were your thoughts on seeing the Daredevil helmet at the very end of this episode? Did you know that that was the Daredevil helmet? Were you
Did.
anything about it that you were like, oh, cool, or was it more just like okay, whatever?
I never watched Daredevil. I've been told by many of you not to because it's a
Yeah.
little more gory than what
Yeah,
I'd
not
be
good.
able to handle. I recognize the helmet, and I know obviously we have Kingpin in Echo, and so cool. He seems like people are excited about it. So I like when characters go in other people's stuff.
Yes.
So even though I don't know him and I don't know anything about him, like I love that he's in this because it does increase the excitement level.
Yeah. Again, it's strange, and this was something I think we probably talked about this on the last show, but they teased Daredevil being in this in the trailers for the show, and we still haven't seen him. And then they show him his hat, and we still haven't seen him. And my message has still been, this isn't the Daredevil show. This is the She-Hulk show. So don't expect him to be here. But at the same time, not to like dangle a toy in front of a kid and be like, oh, but I'm never going to give you that toy. Like, just don't dangle it in the first place. Don't show him and have it be a surprise. So yeah, we'll have to see. Kevin, you were rudely interrupted by your internet connection.
Yes, I was. Sorry. I was saying, so in the courtroom, she saw the whole season is essentially about Jen coming to terms with her identity and whatnot, so having her dates say all that, I feel like made her understand, okay, She-Hulk is up until that point, she was like, Jen's one person, She-Hulk's another, we're separate. And then I feel like hearing the date say that, she's like, okay, She-Hulk's maybe going to have to become part of my life to like find some balance, So then when Josh comes in, she's seeing somebody be more attracted to Jen first than She-Hulk first. So that's like, that's a better clamp for her to be like, to latch on. And I think kind of what Kara was saying about how if he came sooner, it probably wouldn't have had the same effect that it did. So that's kind of what I was trying to go for that. And then as I jump back in here, I heard you talking about Daredevil. Yeah, that the helmet and the tease at the end of the episode. I think it's been bad because we knew he was coming regardless. But I think if that just dropped, and that should have been the post credit of that episode, or one of them, something,
right.
Like that should have been in there. But if it just dropped and we just see the helmet and we had no idea he was coming, I mean, beyond the like, oh, he might be in it, like then if he didn't come episode 6, then episode 7, then be like, okay, what's going on here? Like that would have been, I think, worse than this. But I mean, yeah, to your point, it's Jennifer's show, and that's why I feel like the start of episode 6, she's like, oh, hey, it's the random the wedding episode that happens to fall at a completely inconvenient time. Yep, here it is. Like, here we go. And is essentially saying like, yeah, there's no Daredevil in this episode. So
yeah. Insane. And again, I didn't need Daredevil in this at all, but you tell me that he's going to be in it, like you can't just say it and not show it. Like, we're going to see it. It's going to be great. Honestly, I still stand by it. He's going to be the date. He's going to be the perfect date, right? Because he's blind. So he can't see what she looks like. So it doesn't matter. And it's going to be a doomed romance, but it's going to be this like, don't give up, Jen. Because I love this. And I put a note in here too about, I think it was at the very end, but how cool it was. I love, this was on the other one. Regardless, I like that Marvel's showing this, that, we don't see a lot of romance in the MCU. We see bits and pieces of it, right? We saw Tony and Pepper, and there's a couple of others as well. But like, we're seeing bad romance now, in the sense of like, it's not always going to work out.
The
You're not
normal stuff.
exactly, and it's to the point where it's frustrating, and so you get to hear, like Kara saying, how relatable this is. But it's like, and for some people, right, for those people who maybe are upset about this show, who have never even been on a date, like they don't realize that it's like you're probably going to miss so many more times than hitting that really great one. And I applaud them for showing that, because I hate it. Like I hate, okay, this is the 6th person and she still hasn't found love. But that's real, right? Like that's exactly what we need to see. And that breakdown like that is going to make the moment she does find someone. And this is, again, like you said, Kevin, very comic-y in the sense of like she dates a lot of different people in the comics, to just be with someone, even if it's for a little bit, like Daredevil, even if it's for an episode and it's positive and it's fun, like that's the juice that we'll use to take into the next time she tries to date someone and, they tried to kill her. So, and the piece I'll talk about here too, real quick. I don't know if you guys saw this in the note. I said the character journey of Jen, I think is really interesting. And that's it's turning into a favorite of mine. So episode 1, she becomes She-Hulk. Episode 2, She-Hulk is now her face, but she won't admit it. Right? She, in that second episode, she doesn't want to be She-Hulk really, but they're forcing her to be She-Hulk to work. Third episode is her coming to terms with being She-Hulk. So now she's kind of like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm She-Hulk, I guess. That's when she goes on the news and says, that's what they give me, I guess. But then season 4, she tried to be Jen, but decides to be She-Hulk and is rejected as Jen through the dating. So now she's got this, oh, is Jen the problem or is She-Hulk the problem? Because I thought it was She-Hulk, but now I'm starting to think it's Jen. And I loved in that episode too, it might have been her the second one, where she talks in third person to herself, where she, as She-Hulk, she's saying Jen. And I found that really interesting of like, she is Jen. And then this 5th episode, she has to now fight to prove that she is She-Hulk. And by doing so, seeing all these dates coming by and all of that, she embraces it. But realizes now she needs the help with the dual identity. She clearly has a dual identity disorder at this point, in a sense, right? Like she's struggling with it. See, episode 6, she's come to terms with it at the end of this episode, right? Yes, I'm She-Hulk too. But then in trying to celebrate that, that's the whole point of this episode is actually, we want you to be Jen now. We don't want you to be She-Hulk anymore. Please don't be She-Hulk at my wedding. And so just when she got to that point of acceptance with herself, she has to go back and deal with being Jen. And then we see now in the 7th episode too, accepting both of herself through therapy, right? She says at the end of the 5th episode, I'm going to need some therapy. And we actually get some therapy for her in the 7th. But yes, so 6th, inconvenient wedding, annoying wedding. There would have been a great post-credit scene for this to show who the groom was, or maybe even the wedding ceremony, because we don't see any of that. I really looked for it in that second viewing when I watched. I'm like, so we never know who the groom was. Kevin, did I miss something?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't miss anything. But I feel like that's part of the point, that it was just more of like the Bridezilla type esque things, and like the things of like bad bridesmaid experiences, and like that one friend who gets thrown all the tasks to do like on the wedding. That's essentially what Jen became, because she's a high school friend who doesn't keep in touch anymore. So but I thought some of the stuff was really fun. Her dancing to Annie Lennox, the Walking on Broken Glass, was like, when getting drunk and just at the cash bar, like that was good. And then the DJ Incredible Hulk, yeah, her cousin, her dumb cousin, that was just dumb. But and then you get the Titania aspect of it, which I feel like this is like what Kara was saying, like she's just like, why is she here? And like, you're not getting it. And so to me, so in the comics, she goes by the nickname Skeeter, which essentially like a mosquito essentially. And she just kind of like hovers, and she's just kind of like there, and you like swat her away, and then she'll go away, but then she'll like come back and annoy you. Like that's essentially what's happening in this episode, or the series. It's like, she's just there, and then she has all this gripe with She-Hulk and Jen, and like Jen is like what? Like, I don't have anything with you. And then she like gets defeated like in court, and then she'll go away, and then she's back at the wedding to try and like do it, and then she gets knocked out and humiliated, and then she's left, and then we didn't see her last week. We might not see her again. I feel like we might get her one more time in the season, and like that, and then that'll just like kind of wrap it up even more or something, in a sense. Like, and it might tie her in with some of the story bits. But to me, I'm like, I understand why this is frustrating, but it's like, this is kind of her character. Like she's just there and she just exists and is annoying.
Yeah.
She
yeah.
is the Mark Brandanowitz of this franchise.
Wait, are you saying you don't want Jamila Jamil to come back next season?
I just think that she's fine. You know, Mark Brandanowitz was fine in Parks and Recreation, but once they got rid of him and brought in somebody else, the show took off. And I think that this character is holding the show back a little bit. Kevin's explanation of like the mosquito that comes in and out, that makes it a little bit better for me. Because as somebody who doesn't read the comics, which I'm sure many of you are like me, it doesn't work. It doesn't, like, there's no point to her character, and I do think that she's holding the story back.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, she derails things and that's what we call her, the derailer, because every time she comes on, it's like, oh, everyone stop what you're doing and look at me. And that's credit to Jamila Jamil, because I hate Titania too. But I think she's doing a great job performance-wise doing that, to make me hate her. Her makeup is absolutely obnoxious and totally on point. Like, it looks really good, but at the same time, it is so extra. Her outfits are super extra. Her attitude. I love that what was it? She-Hulk by Titania. Thank you. Like, that whole bit, I liked it, but I liked how frustrated I was of like, why would you call your beauty product She-Hulk? Like, why? Everything she does is to annoy Jen. And it's annoying me, and it's annoying a lot of these viewers. But again, it's like, that's kind of, I guess, what it is. But she ruined the wedding, and even worse than that, she broke her veneers on her own. That made me so happy. Like, I loved that she's the one who injured herself, like, because she is the problem. But yeah, so okay, are we good? Do we need any more soapbox on Titania, Kara?
No, I mean, but I do understand what Kara was saying. Like, we didn't get a good the series could have done a better reason of like why she, like, obviously she doesn't like Jen because she defeated her in court, but like we had to like infer a lot of that, you know. So, and I feel like that's part of Kara's problem, is that like or yours a little too, Alex, is that it just happened, and then it's like, oh, now she hates Jen, but Jen doesn't really reciprocate. But like, why is that hatred so? Why is there so much hatred there, you know? Because, like, sure, she got defeated in court, but, like, if they just went their separate ways, that could have been it. But, like, so why did that stick with her for so long, to be this little annoyance?
Also, like, where did she get her powers from? Why is, like, when her blood sugar is low, she's pounding down doors in a court, or walls in a court? Like, no!
You'd have to ask our good friend Ryan about that.
Yeah, we got to ask Ryan. I feel like that blood sugar, though, that was, while it was a joke for the series, I feel like it was something, I think it said, like, her lawyer said, so I feel like it was, like, a lawyer spin to be like, oh, yeah, this is why she, like, went uncontrollable, like, because of her blood sugar, you know? It actually wasn't, because it was just because she wanted to get out of traffic court or something. But it was just a fun,
Look, all we need is 10 minutes of Titania backstory, and I bet you we would end up liking her, right? How did she get her powers? It's probably super traumatic. Maybe some story of when she was younger and got, shown up by a bully or something, and that's what
she was bullied,
and she was bullied.
Like, if she's a better bad guy than we think, and her whole act is that she's playing a downplayed villain, right? Like, if she's actually an evil genius and her whole cover was that she was going to be this annoying thing to Jen, like, then I'm like, okay, like, that's cool. But there's some piece, and I hope that we get that piece. And if we don't get that piece, I maintain my Mark Brandanowitz theory.
Maybe Kara's onto something, and she's the Hulk King.
Ooh,
I don't think so. I don't think so, but that would be something. Kara was kind of leading towards that. So I was like,
no. I noted here, I said appropriate that she slips on her own stupidity. But then my next note, the Hulk King logo is modeled after Pepe the Frog. If you guys know it is that, like, 4chan frog that looks disgusting. I was like, okay, I noticed that on a bigger screen. I was like, oh, look at that. They've even got the frog. But yes, so this episode is the episode where we learn about the intelligentsia, I think.
Intelligentsia,
yes, in the comics, that's a more recent thing. but it is a lot of, it's like the smart people, Illuminati in a sense, right? It's like, the leader and
Murdoch.
Yep. And they're all just trying to do science. I'm sure it's very similar to this. Clearly at the end of this, we see, we should just use a bigger needle. So clearly they're not super smart, but they're getting there. They're getting close, clearly, by the end of this this next episode. So yeah, episode 7. And I guess real quick too, because that was the same one. Like I said, Mallory and Nikki, I thought that whole thing was great. Mr. Immortal. And, that was probably one of my favorite B stories of we got the Major Domo from Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
I thought that was awesome. And he's married multiple times. Legally, I'm dead, but it's a dude. You are just, I love that. They call him out. I loved the whole, I love Nikki shining as well.
Yeah, that was great.
The quote, unconventional and excellent. Was what Mallory said to her, which it was. That was a really wild settlement agreement. But hey, you do whatever you can to get that case settled. So did you guys have any thoughts on that, Carrie? You first?
Yeah,
I hated the Mr. Immortal thing. Him constantly throwing himself out the window, like, right. I hated that. The concept of it is like kind of funny. I could have gone without it. Nikki connecting with people, I think, is a really good representation of generational differences, because I think the next up and coming generation, mine maybe millennial, but mostly the generation below mine, what are they?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
They're so good at doing things unconventionally and finding new ways of doing things. And not that I think that Nikki is Gen Z, but just the parallel between like the way things are normally done and then meeting a person where they're at and actually like, hey, let's work together to do this and create our own pathway is very like parallel to the next generation. So I thought that was cool. I really liked that.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I like the Mr. Immortal stuff. I thought it was hilarious. He was just like, as soon as it just got like, he was like, this is too hard. I can't deal with this. I'm just gonna go die and then like just move on to like somebody else. And then the fact that somebody recorded it and put it on the internet is how he got outed or whatever, So I thought that was great. And like you said, the Major Domo from Book of Boba Fett. So that was great to see him. And I think I had said this too. Like, I definitely thought Nikki had a crush on Mallory. And then when she was like, Mallory was like, oh yeah, I'm married with like a kid or whatever. She was like, oh, okay. But then I feel like she got a little heartbroken because I totally was reading that she was crushing on Mallory.
See, in that one, I was like, I need to know some more info on Mallory now, because all we know is that she's been married, has a kid. I need to know who her spouse is. Like, I got to see, because she's amazing. Like, it's got to be someone equally amazing. I did love the line, too, of, I will never understand women, even if I live to be, and I will. But yeah, okay, cool. So, episode 7. Guys, I can't tell you. I mean, I could probably pull it up, but the song that plays at the beginning of this, I can't stress to you enough. I listened to that song probably 200 times last year. I just had that playing in the car. I would sing it, jam to it. And I messaged you guys to watch the music video. I don't know if you did, but the music video is very similar to the opening of this. And the Haim sisters, or the song is essentially about getting back into, these same relationships that you're trying to get out of, but now I'm in it and I'm trying to find a way back to, get back to it, sort of thing. And just like this opening montage was so amazing, because I knew that it wasn't going to last, so because of the music video. So I was just like, oh, that's the reason they're playing this, is like, well, here we go again, trying again. And of course it's this Josh guy. And I'm like, there's something about it. And so for some reason, as I was watching it, I was very emotional, of like just feeling so bad for Jen, of like, look at all of this great stuff that they're doing together. I'm like, when's the next shoe going to fall? And then the minute, she has that good morning text or whatever, I was like, oh, this is what they're going. But that, I didn't necessarily, like, I thought it was going to be him, but then I got thrown off the scent when, what was his name? Not Thunder, Wrecker. Came in. I was like, oh, maybe it's him. And I kind of forgot. But I was like, oh, he's just the jerk that ghosted. But then when, they say 3 days late, even just when they said 3 days later, I was like, oh, yep, okay, yep, he, he's that guy. So let's just talk about that before we get into the other pieces of this. Josh is an absolute slime ball, total piece of trash, human garbage. I'm trying to think of some other appropriate words, Carrie. I know we threw around a lot of explicatives before the episode started. He seemed like a nice guy too. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, even if this doesn't work out, like, at least he's showing her a good time. I love that they went to the drive-in. You know, they had some
Yeah.
jokes, some good times walking around. To just go, I have never ghosted someone. I don't think. If someone's out there and they've been ghosted by me, let me know. But I just can't imagine doing that to somebody. Like,
That does not surprise me at all. You're such a wonderful human.
I mean, like, even if I didn't want to talk to you anymore, I would be nice enough to at least just be like, even if it was made up of like, hey, this isn't working out or it's not you, like, I would at least tell you. I just
Mhm.
because I've been in the situation of texting somebody. We all have, whether it's getting ghosted by somebody or like, hey, you're in a steady relationship for years with somebody and you text them and they don't respond. That is accurate of constantly checking your phone, trying to refresh your texts as if that's a thing. Like in the car, I was like, I can relate to that. Sitting and watching Muppets late at night, random show. Yeah, whatever you can do to take your mind off your
Yep.
phone. I just applaud her for not texting more than once
No,
because
she did.
She did.
well, she did. I'm saying I would have probably thrown a couple more in there, like, hey, like she said, are you okay at least?
Yeah.
Like one of those kinds of.
I was waiting for that double text. I was like, they were gonna throw the double text, and then when she did that, I was like, I was like,
Right? Yeah. What was
like,
it?
it's
Just
done.
wanted to check. Are you okay? Blushing face. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Jen, no. Kara, what did you think about this whole opening, this whole relationship with Josh? Let it out.
So, as you guys know, after episode 6, I made it very clear that if Josh was bad guy, I would
You did.
my mind. And my mind was lost because, yeah, I was really upset. I take everything in the show with a grain of salt. I don't trust anybody or anything. And so when I can go back and actually enjoy the show and the different moments, like the therapy moments and whatever, where I'm not like waiting for somebody to turn, I was very upset as soon as he didn't text her back in the morning. Like within the first like 2 seconds that she sent the text and then she was looking at it, I knew exactly what was happening. Like I've been there very many times. I know exactly what being ghosted is like. And unfortunately, the reality is that a lot of guys will hit and run. And so when a girl is all excited about it, she thought she was doing all the right things. She's doing everything you're quote unquote supposed to do. You're supposed to lure them in by not giving them everything right away, you know, a couple of dates, you know, go out in public, like have dates, you know, don't give yourself up, all this kind of stuff. And it still ended up how it usually ends up, unfortunately. So yeah, like all of that was very real. Not like you said, not checking your phone, going somewhere. But when she was going through the yoga retreat and she kept looking for signal, I was screaming at the TV because I was like, this is such a blessing for you to not
Right.
have signal. Because if you think back to when you've been in that situation, if you didn't have signal, like what a blessing that is to not constantly be looking at your phone the whole time. Even if you might be thinking about it, knowing like, okay, he's probably texted me or she's probably texted me or whatever. By the time I turn my phone on, but then you turn your phone on and you have nothing. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole
That's got to be the worst part of it too. Because I remember a couple, probably like, well, geez, now it would have been like 6 or 7. Oh no, it's like 8 years ago. My cousin, my brother, and I, we went camping, and we went to this campsite that was like a cabin. It was supposed to be a really short hike, but it ended up snowing, and so it was a 6-mile hike one way to this cabin. No electricity, nothing. We got snowed in this cabin for the night. But Lisa was texting me, and I didn't know because we had no service. And so I was like, "Oh no, she probably thinks I'm dead." And I was about to be dead. We had no water. We had nothing. Like we were. It was. We'll have to talk about it another time for the long version of the story. It's a really funny story, but yeah. Once we got back into like the city, my phone just blew up with text messages and voicemails and all this. And I was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. We had no service." Again, I communicated right when I got to the service, but you know, it's a great point. I think that Emil is the one of all people being like, this is a blessing in disguise. Like, you know, sometimes these are the best teachers. He says something like, are you feeling like you want to learn? I can tell you don't really want to learn right now, but like she really was in a perfect spot for this to happen. But I do have to call out wouldn't call it lazy writing, but I think I said the writing gymnastics of just the fact that, insane that the plot gymnastics to destroy Jen's Prius. and I'm a Prius guy myself. I have my own Prius, but the fact that just out of nowhere, 2 supervillains show up in this giant retreat and fight on her car. Like,
No, like,
they couldn't have done that anywhere else or seen the car. Like, oh, let's go fight over here. Like,
but I was convinced though that they were bad and they had brought her there.
Me
Like,
too.
was that like the point of it? Was to throw us off and make us feel like she was being trapped?
Maybe. Yeah, and that's a really good point because I noticed that the second time I watched it, and now that you mentioned it, I was thinking that because I was on edge in that episode. I was like, okay, is it Josh? Is Josh here?
Yes.
And you know, Wrecker shows up. Great. So is it Wrecker? Is Emil actually a bad guy? And yeah, so that's a great point. I think maybe it was suspense related that they did it the way that they did it.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
When they say that his tracker went off because he was checking chickens, do you guys believe that? Like,
I do
100%
actually.
I do
believe
because
that.
they showed chickens. There were chickens.
Yeah, there were chickens running around.
There were chickens running around.
I think that he turned into Abomination. I am like so sure.
I hope you're right, but like in watching it, you know, he touched an electric fence, and that would totally trip up his thing.
I think,
but at the same time,
my theory is he was seeing what could potentially, like, he wasn't invested in the chickens, but he's trying to see what could possibly like trigger it.
Yeah.
So like he was like, because I don't know, Emil just feels too good to be true. I want him to stay like how he is, but he feels too good to be true. So yeah, I feel it's partially, yes, he was caring to his chickens, but also he was like, let me see what this is gonna do if I get near this electric fence. Like, what's gonna happen? I don't think he changed though. I just think he tripped it so he could figure out a way to fry it so then he can change, and it technically, I don't know. Yeah,
because I just keep thinking of him and Wongers heading off to what in China
Macau.
with it to do that little fighting ring, and how much fun he looked like he was having in that area. And so I don't think that he's turning into Abomination to be like an evil, you know, villain, but I think that he just has fun in the fight rings and stuff like that, or like with some of his wives that he has, or his soulmates or whatever. Like, you never know.
Yeah, you know, he's in a way he's kind of living his best villain life of like, you know, as Wong, right? You know, we still haven't gotten the answer to that of why did Wong really come and get him? Like, he did not come to get him to prove himself to be the Sorcerer Supreme. He could have picked anyone. He could have gotten some dragon to fight, like from one of the other things. Yet he picked Emil Blonsky, and here Blonsky is again just, you know, it's like, hey, just chill on your farm, do what you do, you love what you're doing, and he's probably for real as that person of like, hey, I'm just a chill guy now, but at the same time, I'm sure he wouldn't say no to if Val showed up and said, I got a job for you, or Wong showed up and said, yeah, I'll do that on the side sort of thing. But like, I think there's some stuff that they have to explain in these last two. I don't know how they're going to do it in these last 2 episodes, but they do have some things certainly in that realm to kind of go off of. We're definitely going to find out, because this whole Jen's blood, which is also the Abomination's blood too, it's all going to come to a head. I bet that last episode's extra long. Okay, Kevin, I got some questions for you here. I saw a little bit of this, but we've got some new supervillains. We've got Man Bull. We've got El Aguilar. We've got Porcupine. We've got Saracen. All of them, I had confirmed they're all in the comics. I knew of none of them, but they're all like random characters, right? I think I saw someone like an Ant-Man.
Yeah, Porcupine's an Ant-Man villain.
El Aguilar, I think, was Luke and Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
I think so. Maybe Iron Man as well. Saracen is a Blade, a Punisher.
That makes sense.
And he's a vampire.
First mention of vampires, right?
Second. There was vampires. Somebody said vampires somewhere else.
In a movie or a show.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought El Aguilar is also a mutant, which they did show he can shoot electricity, but he has to be holding something solid to like as a conduit. So his sword, obviously, you know, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought the group of them was really great, and they were fun. And like you were saying, I was on edge the entire time, not knowing who was like, were they out to get Jen? Like, what was happening? Like, were they part of intelligentsia? Like, what's going on here? But I hope they just like ended up just being a fun, loving group of guys just trying to work through their problems and becoming not supervillains anymore, So
Mhm.
yeah, they were really cool. Yeah, I think Porcupine might have been my favorite just because he was like he didn't want to take his thing off, and then he does, and they're like, "Oh, please put it back on. It smells disgusting."
Yeah. Kara, what'd you think of the villains?
Yeah, I thought it was nice. Once I got past the, will they, won't they,
Right.
like killer, that kind of stuff. It was entertaining.
I saw on the wall we got Obama stay.
Yep.
Yo, that was so funny.
That was great.
One of the posters, I think it was "Today is today" or something, or so. It was like or something. It was something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
So that was pretty. It was like one of those like helpful cat posters, but it was just like very dumb and very stupid. It was fun.
Yeah. Great line from Wrecker, who again I was like, okay, I really hope he's not a bad guy. He said Jen is hurting and all we can offer her is violence. I liked that line a lot because I think that's a very male thing to say, of like, oh, someone's hurting you or you're in trouble, like it's time to go fight. It's time to go beat this person up, which I thought was great. And that leads me to this. I love it. Carol, we'll start with you on this. I said it's not that it's been finally. We've seen plenty of men in the MCU, but in this show has been very female centric. Most of her friends are female. The other characters are female. I love that in this episode, I don't think there were any females in the episode. Maybe there were, but to the most part, I love that a squad of men, male supervillains, helped Jen heal. Like, I feel like that was the most unexpected turn of, especially with all the bad experiences that she has had with men throughout the show, for there to be the supervillains who are men are the ones who actually help her finally kind of see herself. To me, that was a really big twist.
Yeah, and I also think that had they made it a room full of women, that we would have lost the rest of the MCU haters that we're already getting. And they called it in the show, so I know that they were expecting it, and I think this was maybe something that they were doing to like ease the male mind a little bit. But yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. Like just because like women empowerment, female empowerment, all that kind of stuff doesn't mean that there aren't men in our lives who are very integral to our forward movements and our growth as human beings. You need a little bit of everything. You can't have one of everything, and I think this shows that.
Yeah, props to them for doing so too, because they certainly didn't have to, but it was cool to see, because they could have probably thrown. I mean, there's a ton of great female D-list villains out there that they probably could have tossed in, but for some reason they picked all male, which was interesting. Okay, so also Kevin, did you catch the tow truck?
Yep, Slot's trucking.
Slot. I did caught on the second one, but I was like,
I did on the first one, yeah. And the guys, I'm pretty sure the guy's name tag said Dan on it. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't see that. Okay, last thing. So he copies the phone, and I'm curious as to why he's copying. He copies the phone and takes a photo of her. I get them trying to get the blood, but why are they taking photos and all that creepy extra stuff? Why do you think?
The phone, I was just thinking so that like if she's like texting people or whatever, they can just like know what she's talking about or like going or like where she's gonna be. Maybe like that could be that thing. The picture, I just to be a weird male creepy fantasy thing of like,
okay.
I don't know that, but yeah, I just like how I'd said last episode was my favorite. Yeah, like up until that end scene, then it was just like nope. No, this is not great. So yeah, I honestly don't know. I hope they address it next week or in the final episode of just like they just like confront that, or like Jen gets to like beat him because like he violated her like that, and like so like I hope they do that. I'm hoping that being it's a female centric show and everything, that they're like okay, we did that, and like yeah, we're gonna address this, and I hope they just don't leave it, or Marvel and the edit was like, let's just forget that part, or I hope that was like part of the plan, and I hope they address it, because I think that will go a long way to be like make Jen take the situation back to be for her and not him.
Yeah, because I mean that'd be I would not stop thinking about that if they didn't address her either getting a new phone or getting rid of whatever he did with her phone, because I'd be constantly thinking that she's being watched, and then also active footage of her deleting that photo that she got taken of her, because I would just hate for that to be out there too. Kara, did you have any thoughts on that final bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's really hard to watch again, especially
Yeah.
it's very hard to watch, especially because that kind of stuff happens in real life. So I tried not to think about it very much. I just convinced myself that it was proof that he was sending that it was her blood.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they took pictures in the last 3 dates before that, so he could have used that. My other thought was that he's gonna put it up on this site that has been designed to make her look bad and see, look
Right.
how weak she is and all this kind of stuff. I assumed that the phone thing had something to do with Bruce as well, because obviously he's off doing something. They had that whole spaceship that hasn't been addressed yet from Sakaar. And so I had assumed that there was something there that they're trying to get a hold of, because they can clearly get to her. It's not that they need extra information to get to her.
Mhm.
That was as close as you're ever going to get to her, and he still didn't get the job done, I guess. So, or he did get the job done. I don't know.
So we don't know. I mean, if he'd have stabbed that needle into her, she would have woken
She
up.
would have known.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, I feel like it. I mean, but we also don't. Obviously, we saw she could take the punch from Titania, but was like, so we don't know like how durable is Jen's skin now that she has like She-Hulk properties in her. So like, could he have just like pricked her some way and like obviously we don't think. I hope it wasn't that big needle, but like he said he got it. So what does that mean, and how, where, and when? Like that's yeah.
Unless he's not as big of a troll as we think he is, and he pretended that he got blood, and that's why he took the picture.
It's possible.
And then he is disappearing for both of their safety.
I hope you're right, Kara.
I hope you are too.
I'd be fine even if he just called her and said, "Hey, I deleted that. I deleted all of that stuff. You're never going to see me again." I'm okay with that.
But she doesn't know yet that any of that has happened to her. So that's
yeah. Well,
and how is she going to find out? Is the question.
On the website,
yeah, maybe
Nikki will find out.
Oh, you're right. Ooh, yeah. I bet Nikki finds it or something, because Nikki's been. I don't think She-Hulk's even really been checking out the website. Yeah, she said, like, why do I care about what my haters are
Nikki's
saying?
more concerned about it than Jen appeared to be, at least.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. So last piece, before we wrap up, Kara, we'll start with you. Any predictions, thoughts on where the show's going? We got 2 episodes left.
Honestly, I was really hoping Shang-Chi was going to show up. I think that there was some talk about that, and there's no way. Like, if he shows up now, the whole thing's going out the window. Yeah, I mean, I guess Hulk's going to come back with some nonsense from Sakaar and some other stuff and create some drama and this and that, and then there's going to be some more drama here and there.
Just more drama.
Some more confusion, and then hopefully there will be a little bit more clarity, and then I'm sure it will end on confusion.
Yes, perhaps on an end cliffhanger or something.
Yes.
Okay. Kevin, what about you?
I don't actually think Hulk's coming back in this series. I think that ship was like he did his little bit and he's gone, and then the next time we see him is going to be whatever other property he shows up in. I think Daredevil's next this week's episode. I don't know what narrative reason beyond him coming to get his suit from Luke. One, why is he getting a suit out in LA? So like he's coming to get it, but then how does that going to tie into anything? And then I think we'll find out Intelligentsia and Hulk King or whatever is the leader, or at least somebody acting on the leader's behalf, if we don't actually see Tim Blake Nelson. So we'll see that. And I feel like that'll get wrapped up by the end of this week's, and then all of the final episode will deal with that. And then my only other thing is I think on the first episode when we talked about episode 1, one of our prediction shows, I was like, God, this would be the show to see Kevin Feige. And I'm like, I feel like have like Jen talking to Kevin Feige, like as a fourth wall type thing.
Oh,
I don't see that. I can't see that happening anymore. It's like it would have I feel like it would have happened in like 5, 6, or 7, but like in these final 2 episodes, like to me, it's just like the way the story's going. Like I just don't know if I can see it, but maybe I'll be proven wrong and he'll pop up. But I just like I wanted to. I was like that probably would have been good, and I think there was like a rumor way back. That's why it was a seed in my brain, and I'm just like I don't know, but I don't think it's gonna happen now, and that'll be a little upsetting because then it'll probably have to happen in Deadpool. And I was like, oh, it could have been great if it was in She-Hulk. So
Yeah, well, I feel like She-Hulk's a little more nice in
Right.
terms of like she would have been understanding if Kevin said something, whereas Deadpool is probably going to try to kill him or something
Sure.
like that. Like that would be wild. But yeah, that's an interesting. I've not heard that prediction, so hang on to that one. You might be right. We'll have to see. But that is where we're going to wrap things up. So we do have some items to look forward to. So I'm going to go down the list here. Next week on Earth's Mightiest Weirdos, Brian's going to be talking about Werewolf by Night. The new special presentation comes out on Friday. Kara,
Kara's not going to watch it.
From Black and white, scary monsters, a lot of blood.
From what I've been reading about stuff, Kara, I don't think you will like this at all. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Are you gonna? Are you gonna try to watch it, or are you just not?
No.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, you tune in here, and we'll tell you all you need to know.
About the blood and the gore.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Tomorrow on my own show, Comics and Cinema, guest of the show, Anthony, is going to be coming in. We are talking physical media and why it is still so important. So we're going to be bringing some of our favorite examples of our own personal physical media that we're going to be sharing on the live stream. So tune in tomorrow. We got Agents of Field. I don't know what they're up to this Wednesday, but last Wednesday they did the Pixar draft. Which was great, really funny. I enjoyed listening to that one. They got some pretty interesting characters. It was Disney and Pixar, which was nice. Nerdy Girls After Dark. Kara, anything to look forward to this week? Is there a show on the docket?
Next week. We are taking a week off this week, but go and watch our MCU episode, our ghosting episode, or our dating app episode. All very applicable to She-Hulk, the conversation we had today.
NGAD should be sponsored by Marvel and She-Hulk. Those are all great episodes. I've been listening to them. Yep, and Kevin dropped off. Yeah, yikes. Maybe he's part of Intelligentsia. Just kidding. No, Kevin's great. We also have there's 2 other shows going on as well. We've got One Pod to Rule Them All, where Brian and Sarah break down the Lord of the Rings, the new show, Rings of Power. And also Babu's Freaking Podcast, which I think is going to be back soon. We'll have to check in with Brian as they hopefully start talking about Andor, which we've been calling it just Andor. I'd rather watch something else. So we'll see about that. But for Earth's Mightiest Weirdos, Kara, Kevin, thank you guys so much for joining. And to all of us, Brian, we're thinking about you, buddy. Good luck out there. And let us know if we can help in any way. But for EMW, for the children.
Now, case closed.